Hello, my name's Viv Martin, and this is a collection of the work I've made about Florence. It was really exciting that I had the opportunity to go and work in a Renaissance printmaking workshop in Florence with an American master printmaker, Ron Pacrasso, who I've worked with before, and I knew that it would work in the way I liked to, so that I could mix painting and printmaking with collage and build up images through layers. The first one I did, the problem really there was how to make contemporary art in a Renaissance setting. But that wasn't my problem the first time I went there, because I was an art student in the 1960s, and this is more about that. It was going there by train, taking a terribly long time, seeing Italy flashing past after going through all the mountains and things, and then starting to see all the signs of the Renaissance and things that I began to recognise from the books I'd looked at. Now my head was absolutely full of all the images of things I wanted to go and look at. So there were masses of things that I knew about and I wanted to see. But of course when I saw them they were all different shapes and sizes, so it was very confusing. And this attempts to catch some of that. So there's lots of the little images there. There's loads of people, because there always are in Florence. And this is some of the train. But there's the dome, which of course hovers in your mind. You can't forget the dome in Florence. And the dome's here in this one as well. Again, hovering there very strongly and with its own little ghost. But this print's really about the three Davids. This is the story of David and Goliath, and in the Renaissance there were three that were made very close together by three very famous sculptors. The one that everybody knows is the central one, which is David the hero, the David of Florence. This is the David that Donatello made, which is a much more seductive David and doesn't really look as though he could have killed a giant. And this is the David of Verrocchio, which is a little stocky warrior David. And I'd got drawings of all of them from times I'd been before, so I made these drawings the same size to make an etching from them. And in fact it was rather exciting there, because I could do it as a solar plate using the really strong sun in Florence. And we stood outside in the street holding our plates up, which was all rather good. This one is about the sheer exhaustion of being a tourist in Florence, of trying to get around from church to church, from museum to museum, and feeling just completely worn out and tattered and torn. And I suppose I might have been wearing rather tattered and torn clothes, but I did realise when I was looking at some of the relics that you see in the churches with their little bits of fabric all dirty and torn and looking very ancient, looking down at myself and thinking, oh dear, perhaps the tourists of today will become the relics of tomorrow. And then I thought about us and our clothes sort of put in these little frames with a couple of donors, and here are the irises of Florence. So that's a little bit of a joke, but it's also a bit of the feel that you have when you're trying to get round and see everything in a short time and actually quite a big space. This one picks up the idea of the Davids again. And this time I've put them in a space here that's under a little bit of lettering. That's the Medici sculpture garden. And it's rather wonderful that there are 5 trees by the gateway, and you can still see the old gateway that Michelangelo used to go in when he was learning to be a sculptor in that garden, and I think that's rather wonderful. Up here I've got the 3 Graces, and they're from Botticelli. This is actually about going to Florence to look at art rather than make it. And this is me going off with my rucksack on my back and my sun hat on, going off on a painting trip. It was a figure I made, a sculpture that's quite big, and it's actually called Painting Trip. This piece is about the Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, and she's a figure carved in wood that Donatello made. I've always found her very memorable. It's a very striking image because it's the elderly Magdalene, which very few artists have tried to work with. So I made a woodcut of her, which is this. As you can see, it's of a piece of wood. She's actually made of wood, which is quite important. I took a rubbing of wood that shows all the grain in it because I wanted the association of her with the wood of the cross. And again, we have the dome of Florence and all the people around. Lots of people go to see the Magdalene. She just is so unique. She's here as well. Here is a sort of ghost of her. And this is about ghosts. This is about how you have these faint memories of images in museums, and there is a sort of ghostliness about how they're all around you, and you get it lingering in your head. And I was trying to catch some of that. So this is a drawing from my sketchbook. This is a sort of drawing I do in museums. And this is of a Pisano figure, actually. Here's a little Mary Magdalene, how they're more normally done. This is a Masaccio figure. This is the Pisano again, this sort of feel of repetitiveness of figures reappearing, coming and going. So it's supposed to be quite a misty, mysterious one. And part of the ghostliness in this is where you've just got sort of marks around the edge. And a lot of that, it shows the collage process I've been using and the way that the images get embedded, because these layers that are built up one at a time, often, like with that one, I put it there originally and then pulled it off again, and it left quite a mark. And the same with this Mary Magdalene. She was there as a full print, and I took her away because it was too strong. So the layering can go either way, which is one of the things I really like about this process. With this one, there's another element here, is actual use of photographs. All the tourists in Florence go to see the Ponte Vecchio, of course, so it's always desperately crowded. And I wanted this idea of it being really hot and a feeling of fading energy. These are little figures in a relief print that I've just repeated along here, but used colours that are very typical of Florence, and a feel of the light and, well, as I said, the heat. Wandering around there and near the university, I found this little piece of graffiti on the wall, and it made me laugh a little, but I was also feeling rather sorry for the people in Florence who live through all of this, because we don't really go to see them. We go to see what's been there for hundreds of years, and we trample all over their city. It is a shame, isn't it? But this is what's lovely about this process, that I can actually combine something very contemporary with so much that's so old, that's been there for so long. And the layering of ideas fits with the layering in the process, and I've really enjoyed that. If you would like to see more of my work, have a look at the website. You'll see a lot of the work set out there, and you'll also see information about where our exhibitions are, and you can sign up to read blogs about what we're doing now. So I hope to see you one day soon.